Hi, with us today with Illinois Sasquatch is Ricardo. How you doing today, Ricardo?
I'm doing pretty good.
For this segment, we're sort of thought we'd have you on as a guest. Understand you've done research with me, and I have featured you on my channel. So I just wanted to give people an idea of your background, what you do for a living, where you're from, and how you got into the field of cryptid investigations, Bigfoot and Dogman investigations. So go ahead and take it away.
Well, I live in Wisconsin. I'm a correctional officer in a maximum prison for the state of Wisconsin. How I got into cryptids was an interesting scenario. I mean, I always loved cryptids, even from little. But it wasn't until, and I've seen Bigfoots prior to my interest of actually going out and finding answers way before, but it wasn't until in a property that I was renting that my neighbor realized that there was something in the property, and that began as little things here and there, noises here, visuals here, howls here. Before we know it, we realized that we had a whole pack of 5 Dogman that would come through the property. Back then, I knew what a Dogman was. I've never seen a Dogman. I've heard about Dogman, but it was something new to us. And when I began to research Dogman on social media, as anybody else would do, the information that I was getting or receiving it didn't add up to what I was living. And every time I would go out and try to find a researcher to help me on the topic, they'd always give me the fear factor, they're evil, they're demonic, and this and that. Which that didn't sit well with me, simply because it was not what I was living. And that made me put boots on and hit the field, because I wanted to understand what I was living. In our property, we made a lot of discoveries, advancements, because since they were there, I got used to them. They got used to me coming out. I was able to do things that maybe I wouldn't have done in the field for the first time. So we made a lot of discoveries along the way while they were at our property, on a continuous basis. Every weekend they'd be around, you'd see them do something, or I would take out the dog and, they'd be in the cornfields or whatnot. That obviously led me to search for them in an area where I live, and that led me to go out into different states and to try out things and see how they would respond to this or to that. So basically I was trying to figure out what was the truth, what was not, what was more genetics and what was more environmental or learned behavior. I was a vet tech, and I bred dogs. I've trained dogs in multiple outlets. So my mentality going into it was having a open mind, and by that I mean having a clear canvas to work with. I didn't come to the field with a fixed notion. So I didn't have, well, I think it's this or I think it's that, or no. I went out there and let the cryptids tell me what was going on. With that, again, I began to establish what was more genetic, versus what was taught and learned from their environment. With that, we've found vocalizations that are found throughout the U.S., including abroad, in the UK. We've found behaviors that to answer the questions that many have had about Dogman. Why do they come to homes to visit? Now, there's multiple scenarios on why a Dogman might do that, but the most common one, is an imbalance in the environment. The property has, a routine, and once that routine is broken because let's say a divorce in the family, or rebellious kids, you know, or something that just
A death in the family?
a death in the family. It sets everything off because, you know, for instance, a death in the family, it's really small, but you'll have more people coming to the property. You'll have more people crying. You'll have other commotions around. That sparks a curiosity in the Dogman, simply because it's different. Same thing with a bad divorce. You have more screams, you have more cars coming in, you have one of the spouses leaving with their property, you know, back and forth, kids crying because the parents are arguing and whatnot. That also creates a commotion. And then one day, me and another researcher, we went out, and at 1:30 in the afternoon, I'm getting surrounded by 2 dogmen making noises, you know, and something that I found awkward was, as I looked towards the direction, is that I'm seeing homes. Like, why would a cryptid make all this ruckus at 1:30 in the afternoon? That didn't sit well. And when I began to look at different encounters, eyewitnesses that I had talked to, and began to re-ask different questions, we found out that a lot of these encounters had pups. And then more people kept on coming in with this. There were dens near the homes and stuff like this, and so we began to be able to answer questions. And with that information, we began to help people out when it comes to having the Dogman probably leave the property, not mess with the house, and a lot of things aren't major things. I remember there was a lady in the UK that had a problem with a Dogman for probably a little bit over a year, and between me and another researcher, we had this Dogman stop messing with the property. When I say mess, I'm talking about this Dogman was breaking windows, trying to come into the house, ripping part of the roof off. I mean, a bunch of things, unscrewing light bulbs, switching cameras around. And basically, we fixed the problem after 1,000 questions. After we realized why it was doing it, based on what we had already learned, 2 things fixed the problem that she was hiding for a full year: pipe cleaner and taking out the trash every day. In her case, it was a medical condition, but those 2 things fixed the problem:
Pipe cleaner?
a pipe cleaner and taking out the trash every day. 2 things. But it's because when you start asking the questions with the information that we've had, we realized that she had a medical condition.
Okay.
That would make the pipes more stinky because of the extra hormones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And her being a female, her feminine products weren't thrown out every day. They were just put outside. So you have all these different smells, this and that.
Right.
Changing
the environment.
Right, having a den nearby, and that changing the environment, because the situations began when she got sick.
Okay, on that note, not to get too far afield,
Go ahead.
I got a question regarding you and how this affects you, your personal life, your family, your immediate family, and yourself, and for that matter, I guess your friends would be in that circle of people. How does this affect, as far as Dogman, the ability to potentially follow the people that ask for your help, that follow them home, potentially interact with you, ever make contact, follow you home, mess with your car, your belongings, mess with personal artifacts in your life, or even somehow intervene in your life to sort of let you know there was a presence of them occurring, locally in your family circle, your property where you lived? Did you have any of those instances ever ring a bell in your brain and say, now I know what's going on with these people, I've seen this before, and I can make the connection to my own personal, encounters?
Well, a lot of the connections were made rather in the field, right? And talking to eyewitnesses and asking 1,000 questions. Many people, when it comes to cryptids, they play it off as something completely different from normal wildlife or normal, creatures. So they don't ask the questions you would ask if it was a deer or a bear. Those little questions that you ask. What happened in the family? Did somebody, cook something, if somebody got sick. There's all these little things that people may not have asked before are the questions that I asked. The private questions, the questions that, you know, and I got a lot of looks for it in the beginning when I would ask these questions because people were like, well, why are you asking me that? But you began to see a trend. Every person I asked had the same answer. So when you start asking, everybody has the same answer, then you have to have, there's a common denominator here. There's something, you know, attached to these questions.
Mm-hmm.
In my property, there was, in the beginning we saw 5, and then we only saw 4. So the question was always, well, where's the 5th one? And then as we began to look in the field and ask the eyewitnesses and figuring out the den situation next to the homes and et cetera, we realized that, well, that one must have been a female with her pups. Hence why we never saw her after a certain time period. But a lot of the connections were asking specific eyewitnesses and being out in the field, and getting those answers to the questions nobody asks.
Okay, what would you suggest for anybody who would ask you the question, what advice can you give me, because I'm interested in investigating cryptids, for example, Dogman, and I'm thinking about my motivations and other than I'm interested and it's an interesting subject, what could you tell that individual who approaches you or anybody else who's interested in purportedly investigating Dogman, just for the simple fact that it's something different and new, and it's like another, you know, flavor of the month or flavor of the year, as opposed to what I perceive what you do is generally helping people and trying to come up with solutions for a problem, as opposed to somebody who's just saying, I want to do it like a hobby, sort of like an enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice that word is used loosely in the Bigfoot and cryptid community.
Mm-hmm.
People want to be the enthusiast, and maybe you want to touch about the damages that could be done by being an enthusiast,
Right.
Strictly a follower, or for that matter, an armchair expert on the subject, where in fact you're not really an expert at all. Maybe you want to touch on some of that.
Yeah, that is a very big problem in the community right now as we speak. Social media, and this is what happened to me in the beginning. You know, when you go to social media and you talk to some researchers, that the fear mongering is there. Dogman is demonic. Dogman is bad. Dogman is aggressive. They're bloodthirsty. They're out to kill you. And these are all words that you will find, no matter where you look. You'll eventually find all these words. There's some podcasters that fear-monger more than others, but you'll eventually find these words when you go into podcasting. And the problem with that is...
Love those buzzwords.
Yeah. The problem, the situation with the information that we receive from these shows is that it's not a studied background. And by that I mean, an eyewitness is going out. He sees a Dogman. In that particular moment, he's scared. The fear brings in other emotions, but the encounter happens 5-10 seconds, even if it happens a minute. But it's of a cryptid that this individual, the first instance when they see it is a werewolf. And we know how Hollywood portrays the werewolf idea. Mm-hmm. So that creates more fear. So a person, when he goes to the social media aspects and gets all these names, demonic, evil, and then you have certain individuals promoting those names, those situations, that fear-mongering,
right?
The person doesn't find relief because they're out to get me, they're out to kill me.
They're finding more angst, more disturbing, unrealistic, what I call fantasy.
Right.
More of a fantasy.
And that's the danger, because Dogman can be dangerous, but Dogman is not bloodthirsty killer. He doesn't wake up saying the next human I'm going to kill. That doesn't happen.
Right. I know somebody with an ex-wife who had that problem. But that's on a side. That's just I don't want to. Not aimed at Dave at all.
Okay.
In any way, shape, or form.
Not okay.
Yeah,
All right, Dave.
He gave me the edit signal.
Okay, we're good. But yeah, it's you know, people. I've had one guy who committed suicide not long ago, because he saw Dogman, and he went. The first thing, as anybody does, he goes to social media, and because those names pop up really quick, you know, demonic, they're out to get you.
Yeah, it's all part of the
Right.
search. Word.
Unfortunately,
information.
it built up in his mind, and most people that see a Dogman.
So he had uncontrollable, unresolved, whether it be fear or sort of the
His
end of the
fear
world
led
scenario.
to-
Like if that life is that bad, I might as well just end it.
Right, he had
And
because
to
once.
me, that's so sad.
Yeah,
that
because
people-
once you have that encounter, you're already fearful. You get these words, that fear increases. You go into depression, and once the depression gets to a certain point, you find hopelessness in the solution to everything. And a lot of things that they say is it's out to get you. Well,
Right.
I'm not gonna get killed by a dog, man. I might as well kill myself. And at the end of the day, that's what happens. And
See, and that's why I think it's important. People need to understand everything in moderation is a good
Right.
way to live.
Mhm.
And I don't care if it's Dogman, Bigfoot, your favorite soccer team, or your religion. It should all be done in moderation, so that you're not fantasizing or becoming a fanatic.
right.
It's you could get deluded by the fear of other people, and then delude yourself into being despondent. Like you said.
Right. And it happens. It happens a lot with the cryptid world. With the cryptid world, you know, you people spend more time in books and social media, but like what happened to me, once I hit the field, it was totally different. I'm like, well, what? What? This isn't. No, this isn't. So everything begins to change.
You had a hard time. What's the word? You had a hard time. You had a hard time not understanding why they could not understand the reality of being in the field. Being obviously they had been in the field.
Right.
So
That's
trying to look at that and say, well, I'm not getting that feedback or that input at all from
Right.
being in the field.
right.
So where are these people
Get-
coming up with these?
Right. And most of it is because they already go out in the field with the fear mongering mentality. So they go out in the field.
So they're afraid of every.
They see a dog man, or they hear, you know, footsteps or whatnot, and they're out. They see a dog man track. Oh no! They might take a picture, a quick cast, but they're looking all over the place, and they're out. So the finding out the truth never goes beyond a certain point, because
You hit that wall of fear, and then you just say, okay, I'm good for until the next 2 months. I crawl out of my apartment because
Right.
you're xenophobe now, and you're going, okay, I don't want to binge drink anymore. Let's go out and prove this thing is. And if you're going about life that way, then obviously you're never going to get to the bottom of anything.
nothing. You
All you're
never.
going to do is get as far as the little kid who opens the closet door and screams that he's got a boogeyman, and then closes
Yes.
the door.
Yes.
And he never gets.
That's
he
it.
never outgrows it
Right.
until he hits 9
He
or
sees
10.
he sees this 8-foot, 9-foot thing with teeth, and that's where it stops.
Yeah.
You know, but it's funny because if you look at a lot of animals, including humans, if certain humans, when they're stressed, anxious, they kind of smile, laugh. It's their way how to process things because
Yeah.
they're anxious. Chimps, monkeys.
It's it's called self. Basically, you're sort of self stimulating by using that sense to sort of self. It's like quieting yourself.
Right.
You're trying to self quiet yourself. You're
Right.
trying to do something that just basically distracts you.
And that happens a lot with the dog man. And what people sometimes don't do is listen to their surroundings. Okay, so the dog man showed his teeth, but what does he do afterwards? Is he confronting you, or is he turning around sideways and then leaving? A lot of if people were to look at their environment,
Yeah.
they can read what something may mean, or have a better educated guess on what it may mean. But
Yeah,
because of the
exactly.
fear mongering,
Yeah.
people just hit that wall. Oh, it growled at me. Oh, did it really growl at you, or was it just, you know?
Yeah, that's jumping to conclusions, unfortunately.
Right.
And, instead of actually taking, and even what caused it, what precipitated that creature coming in, you might have been making noises, doing something that would explain its reaction when it does come in.
And that's
you might say you might have played something on the radio. You might have been arguing with somebody else you're out in the field with camping. It could have been something as simple as I've told you in the past, having a disagreement about what trailhead to take with my wife.
Right.
And the next thing I know, I'm being followed from a distance, basically from something tracking us. And
Yes.
I told her, I says, I probably, in our excitement, we disturbed something.
Yep.
And it came in out of curiosity to see, well, what's all the fighting about?
Right. Right.
I says, don't we do it with our neighbors? So why would not Bigfoot live in a society of its own clan or family to say, yeah, when it's members of their family are arguing, they go and check each other out. So why wouldn't I not do it to their neighbors? Us modern human.
Right. Right.
human beings.
And that happens. That happens a lot, even with the Dogman. You know. But people, I don't know. People just. It bothers me sometimes with when it comes to social media, because you have some people. I've had people tell others not to listen to me, yet the person has followed my advice throughout their situation, has seen firsthand the results, and yet here you have people telling them not to listen to me, which puts them in a bad position, because now it kind of switches around, because what are you talking about? Not to listen to him. He's helped me out.
Yeah, they're purposely misleading a person because of their own ego. Or,
Right, and that has happened a lot
Yeah,
in the community, and it's sad, because you're trying to help people. Dogman is a cryptid that most people will fear on the first sight, unlike a Bigfoot, which happens a lot too. But people will see a Bigfoot, and some people will say, well, it kind of look a lot like a human, or whatnot. But when it comes to Dogman, their first thought in their minds is Hollywood werewolf, and their fear factor goes through the roof. They don't know what to do to themselves. They start panicking. They get PTSD. And that can lead in a bad direction.
not to interrupt you there, but I have another researcher off camera. If he has any questions, I was going to ask Dave if he had anything to ask you. Dave, feel free to go ahead and interrupt and ask any questions he feels that anything that you could answer or at least cover.
No, go ahead.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
But if we get too far up topic, just remind us. Other than so you feel that is sort of a premeditated way of going into the field with that sort of mindset of being fearful, and it basically gets you off on really, you're not really at that point investigating, because now you've lost total situational awareness.
Yes.
Because you're just focused on that.
You're too fearful.
That one, just like looking through binoculars. You just see that narrow vision.
You become, like you said, you become too fearful. Your mind is only on one track, and a squirrel can drop an acorn and you're already jumping, because you already entered the woods with that fear factor. Sometimes, and we've been in the woods, David's been in the woods with me, you've been in the woods with me. We've heard footsteps right next to camp.
Yeah.
Just stop and wait. At times, that's all it is a footstep. They move past or whatever. And
they don't always come right up close.
Right.
They do that also, but sometimes they just circle and they're checking things out, and they're doing it at a correct distance. So
right.
And quiet enough to know they don't care if you hear them, but anything a distance away would not hear that. But because you're in camp, you hear every little thing around you.
Right.
So,
and that's
sometimes a creature that weighs 800 to 1,200 pounds, as quiet as it may try to be, you'll still hear it.
Right.
It's not perfect.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize.
No.
It's not perfect, and even the best hunter knows that even stealthy game can be heard.
And that's the thing. I think one of the things also going into into this field is, I think it goes with every cryptid, is there's too much bickering and fighting within the community. I think that if people were to just get their ideas together, a lot would be accomplished. And I feel that in the Dogman community, there's more bickering than there should be, because most people don't go out and sit in the woods researching Dogman. So you have less people doing the actual research, yet there's more bickering.
Yeah, you have a lot of people that are armchair podcasters who basically are armchair researchers. They don't really get out in the field.
They don't get out, but then they're giving advice to people.
Yeah, sadly.
It's like, well, okay, you know, Dogman doesn't do this, says the man who's never gone out. That Dogman doesn't do this, says the man who hasn't gone out. How, I mean, and that's sad. It's sad because people that don't know follow these advices, and they're the ones that can get hurt, or they're keeping the person in that fear state.
Yeah, all people have to do is have common sense, I guess, and be practical and say, you know, it's like asking for marriage advice if you've been married 10 or 15 years from a guy who's 18 years old who's never been married.
Right.
And you ask him for the best marriage advice, and you follow it to the letter, and then you can't understand why
It went
you're
wrong.
now divorced or you're just not getting along with your wife.
Right.
And it's just like Cryptid. I would check somebody's credentials who told me, yes, if you want to investigate, this is a manner or procedure to follow. And I say this because I'm smarter than you, but yet there's no credentials or proof that the guy has spent thousands of hours in the field with documentation to prove it, other than to say he's sat behind a microphone at a computer and he's done a couple interviews.
Right.
This present interview excluded, because I think this comes from a knowledge base of, I think between the three of us, and that's not counting everybody in our group, we have a small group you might want to mention. Dave has in the past, a previous interview, but it's our group is 5 people, and probably cumulative, we have hundreds of hours, of field experience. And I'm not totally counting everybody, because I don't know what Mitch's field experience entails.
Right.
But if you do that field experience, the hours, and I take Dave's trapping, hunting, and scouting hours, coupled with mine and everybody else's, Randy and yours, we're probably in the hundreds, if not thousands, of hours in the field already.
Right.
Individually, we each have hundreds of hours in the field.
Right.
And I try not to tell people that we're in there, we're out in the field every day. You know, we don't take it as an obsession. We take it as an important part of our life.
Right.
But once you start obsessing, then you sort of lose track of what you're really out there doing.
Well, yeah.
You become totally, everything is molded around just cryptids.
Yeah.
And I have other things to talk about other than cryptids.
I have a family. We all have a family, you know,
Yeah.
and I have to work to support my family. So
I think personally, between all of us, I will say this to any of my listeners or anybody willing to watch this video, we all probably know each other better about our families and what's going on in our personal lives than we actually know about our actual Bigfoot experience or our encounter experience.
That is so true.
Because as we meet each time, we find out other facets of our encounter experiences over the past.
Right.
But then I can talk about Dave's kids or your son, his grandkids, and my grandkids, or our kids, our older kids, and the same problems he has with his adult daughter, just like I have mine with adult daughter, and it's, you know, the pain comes out.
Right.
You know, I don't have the cryptid pain visiting me on a daily basis. That's part of life. Your family makes those challenges daily.
And also to add to that, when it comes to the cryptids and us, we all have deep down probably different viewpoints of what a cryptid is.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know,
yeah.
Yet we're adults enough to have fun out there, research, right, and go about our ways.
Yeah, we agree to disagree.
Right.
At the end of the day, we agree to disagree, and I'm not saying we're not mad at each other either, because I think we need those different viewpoints to basically develop to get better.
To get better.
Right. Because you know, if Dave's telling me, yeah, go ahead and do this. This is never. It's never borne any fruit in the past, you doing this, Don. He might tell me that, but he says, by all means, if you want to do that, set up and put your camera here and put your listening device here, and I know it's going to waste your time the last 100 times you did it, and then that one time I do it, I get lucky. I'll admit I was lucky, but generally that's what it is. It's just we're not afraid to tell each other that. It's not like there's going to be, oh, I'm mad, no, I'm not going to.
Right.
We're gonna be mad, and I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Right.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
Other than, who's the
that's-
last guy I played for dinner? Now it's your turn. But
And that's the thing. That's also that's a key thing with our group is that exactly. We have different viewpoints. We ask each other, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? And even if we might not agree, we still do it because, well, okay, let's see.
Yeah, you never know.
Because
You might, like I said on that, I might have tried it 100 times and it never worked, but a different guy tries it because for whatever reason, there's the factors that we're not counting.
right.
He has a reaction with interaction with Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever, and at that point you're going, okay, I just learned something.
Mm-hmm.
There's an approach that maybe I've never used, or you're doing something different.
Right.
So
And I think there hasn't been one time that we've not been in the field
we haven't had results.
that we have not had results.
Yeah.
We get
Yeah,
results.
Dave gets it even a lot of times. All his results are generated not always with me or you. It's by himself, and he gets results.
Yeah.
And so then I'll go out to confirm it with him and say, really, it happened here. And sure enough, as we found out earlier today, yes, we got reactions at a place
Right.
where at least I was never before. I don't think you were.
Me neither.
And we got reactions to confirm that, yes,
Yep.
he was at an active spot. So,
An active.
anything to add on that, Dave?
An active.
No.
Active.
No.
Active.
I got it.
Active spot, not because we saw structures or because we saw, tree breaks. No, active spot meaning we got vocalizations and footfall.
Yeah, conformational
Yeah,
stuff. And
so-
there was a little tree structure.
Yeah.
Some what I call
Yes.
replacements or replacements there.
Right.
But we also got, like I said, the conformational audio
Audio.
that sort of tells me that I can tell if somebody's telling me this, if it really happened.
And
You
one
can go
strange
back.
track too you picked up.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you
yes.
found a partial. Yeah,
Yeah.
you found a partial track.
So it's and all that things that, and this I would like to tell out to any of the new eyewitnesses or eyewitnesses who have not gotten help. When it comes to Dogman, and I know the same applies to Bigfoot. So I'm gonna say with cryptids, right? There's more information that what your so-called experts say there is. Enough for you to have a better, clear mind of what may or may not be going on. Okay, especially in the Dogman community, there's more information. You have researchers out there, not just us, but you have research out there that are actually boots on the ground in the field. Okay, who's probably seen Dogman or Bigfoot more than us, but that are actually out there. Okay. Unlike what some of these experts are trying to tell you, which there's people don't go out and study people. It's hard. They're hard to find. Dave, Don, you've heard it. In every state I've gone to, in every place I've gone to, I've called in a Dogman, and they come in. Once you've figured out where it kind of look, they're gonna come out. Okay, so researching, for those that tell you that there isn't information or that nobody knows everything, know anything, because yes, nobody knows everything, but there are people that knows something, okay, enough to help you out when it comes to the Dogman. So reach out. Like I said, if you hear controversial things about me, you want to talk to me, I'll point you to a different researcher that's at least out there 24/7 and can help you out. There is information out there. There are researchers out there in the woods researching Dogman. Okay. Now that said, doesn't mean that Dogman is a teddy bear, pet me type of cryptid. Okay. Dogman can be dangerous, but once you know the ins and outs, the basics, Dogman 101, yes, you can always, in any species, in any living creature, you might have a rogue, but your general rule is, unless you provoke a Dogman, you're gonna be fine. If you hear grunts, you hear growls, leave. That's your cue, leave. But don't follow what so-called experts or media portrays them as, because you're gonna get more fearful, you're not gonna get anywhere, and you're gonna end up doing something stupid. And by that I mean you don't know how many families, fathers, mothers, who are going to do something stupid because of the fear factor. When they finally, somebody told them, hey, let's talk to so-and-so. And when they've talked to me, their brakes have been put on because I'm telling them what's going on without me being there. And they're confirming, yes, that's going on. Yes, this is going on. Before you know it, the problem has been solved. And they didn't commit the stupid act they were about to do. They could have got them in trouble and their family worse. So please reach out. We have people, like I said, if for any reason you might want to talk to me or Don or Dave, there's others that I can point you to. There are researchers out there researching Dogman.
Well, you know, on that segue and that comment right there, Rick, why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know how they contact you or other members of our group, the name of our group, maybe the name of your Facebook group. I understand you have a secret group or a private group on Facebook, and maybe give the channel name to your YouTube channel and your Facebook group so people can contact you or other members to maybe make contact with people that can tell them what's going on or at least get help.
On Facebook, it's called the American Cryptid
Research Society.
The American
Research
Cryptid
Team, yeah.
Research Team.
Yeah, ACRT.
Right.
American Cryptid Research Team.
The profile picture is the sunset on a mountain in a lake. Click on there. There's 3 questions you got to ask. I don't let anybody go on there simply because this is not the group is designed to help out eyewitnesses and for researchers to give out information. So it's not your typical Facebook group where you get all these.
So as an eyewitness asking for help, they can request joining the group page, and then they can seek out you or other members of your group for eventual help.
Absolutely, you're not going to get all the non-sayers, the he said, she said. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
And then my email, T as in Tom, D as in dog, M as in Mike, K as in knife, 9, the number 9, s@yahoo.com. So TNDK9s@yahoo.
Okay.
You can email me there if you want to go into the group. I know some people in different other groups want information, but they don't want to do a profile, so they make a new profile to try to get into groups. The problem with that is if it's a new profile, that can mean 1,000 things. So we do not tend to let new
You try to avoid fake profiles.
right
from
fake
joining your-
profiles from joining in,
Okay.
which happens a lot. Sometimes people are afraid to put their names and stuff like that, and they'll do a new group, you know.
Yeah, and they can also, in the bottom of this video, in the comment section, if people have an interest in finding you and contacting you, me, or Dave, put in a request in the comment section, and I'll drop a link in my description to your Facebook group and your YouTube channel, so they can always find you directly.
Right. Like I said, there's many of us. In our group alone, there's 5. You know,
Dave's still on he's still on MySpace, so I don't know if you could even get to his channel anymore. That's supposed to be a joke. I can edit that out later. MySpace. Yes. But so, and again, we don't take ourselves too seriously. I think that's the downfall of serious research. Is you think you're the end all and have the answer to everything.
No, you have fun with it.
I wish I did,
Yeah.
but I would not be from this planet if I was that smart.
It's. I don't think there's one person, you know. And with me, it's like a lot of things that have lit up a light bulb in my head have been from your common individual who just gave out a comment on a post.
Yeah.
And my mind goes, he starts working 1,000 miles per hour, and I go in the field. He had, you know, the person might have never known what he said, but I added 2 and 2, and I got 4 going back in the field.
Yeah,
You know?
it sort of gives you inspiration.
Right. So, no information can be found by certain people, comments or whatnot. What I'm trying to say is,
And the reach out to you is worldwide. Let the listeners know. You've had people from
I've had
Yugoslavia, Croatia, all over the world
everywhere.
Reach out to you.
And problems have been, and the problems have been fixed, not temporary solution.
That's great that you're able to
You know,
find a
it's
resolution.
fixed. I mean, like fixed. The problem. We had one lady from Massachusetts. Okay, she's a biologist, and the one who's having the encounter is her friend. So the biologist is the one talking to me because her friend doesn't want to have that straight conversation. This dog man was ripping the shingles off the house, okay, looking through the windows, trying to open the doors to get in, okay, and she calls me up after 1,000 questions. We figured, you know, some things out, and I told her because she didn't know why the dog man was there. A quick question: why is the dog man there? And she didn't want to ask the house owner the questions that I want to ask because they're private questions.
Private questions.
So they was like, well, I'm not gonna ask her that. Like, you want the solution, you gotta ask her that.
Yeah.
But no. You want it fixed, you gotta ask.
You got
Okay.
the brutal truth is so important
Right.
regarding this
So
subject.
she found out. She asked the questions, and before she was talking, I told her, I bet you any amount of money the dogman is making the hole over where the son sleeps because the son had just moved over. And she paused, asked, how did you know that? Because your problem is your son. Find out what he's doing.
So the dogman was attracted to that.
No, the son happened to be an alcoholic, using drugs,
Okay.
making wild parties, a whole bunch of other things. He had gotten kicked out from his family's
So there was
house.
a change in the environment at her
Right.
house.
And once the mom realized that, because the son had just moved in there, she kicked him out.
Mhm.
The dog man never came back. Problem solved.
Just goes to show you we don't live in this little bubble called our little world. People think they live in their house, and and people that don't even leave their house think that they're somehow disconnected from nature.
Yeah.
You're really never disconnected.
No,
it's
no.
all in your mind.
Right. We disconnect ourselves
We
from
pretend-
nature,
yeah, we
but
think
nature never disconnects from us.
Exactly. Yeah, we think we are living apart, separate.
Right.
And that's why people don't understand even in religion. They're
Right.
somehow separate from the source or the universe. You're not. You're part of everything.
Right.
So
Yep.
to the guy who goes out and gets his mail at, 8 o'clock in the morning, doesn't realize that he's still, that's his environment too.
That individual goes out, gets the mail, and walks inside, and he might tell you, well, I never saw the squirrel, or I never noticed the chipmunk or the deer. Yet the chipmunk knows he gets his mail at 8 o'clock every day.
Oh yeah.
The deer knows he gets his mail at o'clock every day.
A neighbor's dog knows when I bring in the garbage cans.
So
on a Friday.
it's us that get away from nature or disconnect from nature, but nature never disconnects from us.
No, it doesn't.
And that's what happens in a lot of these cases is that we live our lives disconnected, but then when our life interferes with nature, nature tells us,
Yeah.
hey, this
There's
is
a
not
wake-up
right.
call. There's a wake-up
You
call
know?
when you.
And Dogman has been no different.
Yeah. Well, that's a feedback loop from nature. Even when you do things like change the course of a canal, a river, or stream, all of a sudden you end up with the bank caving in above a trail and flooding a road or an access, and you're going, with something human involved. Some humans did something. No different than, a change in the environment of somebody's house where, the alpha predator of a wolf pack will come in and notice that, the children are distraught and they're outside of the house in the yard all the time, and it changes the environment. So nature notices it, even if we're sort of dumbed down to think that we're not part of it anymore, but we still are.
Right.
That disconnect is all just a mental construct in our mind,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to basically not be distracted. And that's where TV, electronic devices, cell phones, everything comes in. It distracts you from the reality of being part of the world that we're in. And it's just, we're not, what's the word, pod people, always looking at our iPads, iPods, cell phones, and tablets.
They can get smacked by a Bigfoot and they would never know. Because
That's why some of my friends still have. That's why some of my friends still have flip phones, because they're not totally plugged into the electronic
Right.
maze that we're in.
Right.
Right, Dave?
Right.
Because it gets you distracted from the real world,
It's and
that results in depression. I see it
a lot of
really a
times.
fair amount in this world. People coming back from overseas or from other places where they were in a city or corporate world, and they can't survive until they move away and realize that that was part of their life that they never saw. People that never saw the sky moved away from a city, and now they're living in a rural area, and they notice that I can see stars and never saw stars before, because they lived in the city all their lives
Pollution,
and didn't know about the light pollution, just accepted it. So having those kind of people, like I had somebody who came out with me the other day who has a brain tumor, had it removed, and he's never gone Bigfooting, as he calls it. And I thought it'd be exciting to have him along with me and just see what it's like. Other than sitting in a deer stand, it was a new thing. So in a deer stand, you're focused on just that buck walking out during daytime hours, out of the tree line and getting that, that 15 or 20-yard shot with a bow.
And that's where you mentioned something very key. People live in depression already, because of bills or things that they add to themselves.
What we're doing today, even you can tell people this is a relief valve for the pressures of our daily, what I call rat race world. If
Yeah,
call it that.
being in nature is but when people live, like you said, disconnected in their own real world, and whether they express it or not, in some ways or the other, a lot of people have the depression. When they see a cryptid, especially a Dogman, which is resemblance of Hollywood's werewolf, it breaks their reality so much that unless you're able to catch them when that reality breaks, they go downhill like you won't believe.
It's a culture shock. Imagine your kids reaching, their young adults, your teens or preteens, and all of a sudden you just move them, you whisk them away, and all of a sudden you and your whole family is now moving, live in Barcelona, where everybody speaks Old Spanish, and the customs and culture is all different. Your kids would be in culture shock. In fact, they'd be, if you had an older teenage daughter and even your son, who might have been 13, 14 years old, those kids, I'll tell you right now, because I know my family would react this way, they would be either extremely depressed, or depending on how they handle it, some kids would be like in their element. They'd be like, this is a new world. This is better than books.
Right.
I'm around a bunch of people who don't understand a word I'm saying, and now I got to learn a second language or a third language.
Right.
And I think culture shock happens with cryptids. People see it and they go, what? I kind of changed everything I ever believed.
Right.
Because now the description of the world is totally different than what I was taught by educated society.
Yeah.
Which is, and that's another program I'll get into about the hidden sciences. Hopefully you can talk to us about that in a future episode.
That's something that at least I'm grateful for my parents. Is my parents always, because I was always interested in cryptids, from little.
How real young? How old did you say you were when you first?
Probably 7 years old.
Thought of a cryptid.
Bigfoot interested me. The Loch Ness Monster. All these little things that you see on TV. Pterodactyls. Or thunderbirds. All those little things always interested me. The unknown, birds, animals of the unknown, especially the ocean, because I guess your mind would say there's such a big ocean, there's more things to discover there, So you think about sea monsters and this and that, and it always interested me, I would stay up watching. I remember the old episode of Werewolf, and I'm a kid, but I'd sit there because I was interested in that unknown factor, can that be possible? And I would always ask my dad, can this be possible?
The old Lon Chaney movies, the old Lon Chaney werewolves.
Yeah. Wolfman, yeah. But then, when well, I'm not that old.
That's our generation.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point is, I'm grateful for my parents, because my dad always said, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up thinking, well, if I saw this, anything's possible. If I saw this, anything's possible. So the first day I saw a Bigfoot, anything's possible. Holy crap! I just saw a Bigfoot. You know, the first time I saw Dogman,
Yeah,
anything is
But
possible.
that's why I find it hard to believe when people say they compartmentalize and say, "Well, I might accept that a Bigfoot exists, but I don't believe in UFOs. Definitely don't believe in a Dogman. Don't believe in." I go, wait a second. You already believe in Bigfoot, which is like the extreme edge of the spectrum. You know, Dogman to me is not a big leap of faith any more than UFOs to me is actually easier to believe than even Bigfoot. But to sort of compartmentalize that and say, well, I believe in this one cryptid, but all the other unknown creatures that science says doesn't exist, I believe them. They would never lie to me. As though science is the last word, which we know isn't true.
Right, right.
They're not the last- and science is, in fact, it says itself that it's constantly changing the facts on a daily basis. What they believe today may be something different
Right, tomorrow,
So,
yeah.
so that's the kind of science the best thing we have right now is that
Right.
part of science. But of course, there are also corrupt parts of science that is corrupt. That
Right.
will tell you because of the money involved and the greed that they're paid by their endorsers and sponsors not to research Bigfoot and other creatures. I mean, they don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about Loch Ness.
Right.
They don't want to talk about the
Nothing.
you
It's
know,
just-
Champ, the sea monster in Lake Champlain. They don't want to talk about that. So I think that hopefully is changing. That worldview is slowly changing. Hopefully it'll change dramatically in the next generation. I think we still have a long ways to go in our lifetime
Right.
for it to become what I call popular. I think there's too many gatekeepers, and you can see that if you watch movies on TV. They got the movie called Littlefoot
Mm-hmm.
about the Bigfoot, it's an animated movie.
Thank
The
you,
Bigfoot is animated, and you're going Littlefoot. Are they trying to tell younger people in this world nowadays that there's a possibility Bigfoot exists, but they do it through an animated cartoon?
Yeah.
So that's the gatekeeper thing. I think there's an exposure going on, and it's slow, but it's by people that are artists, and they're going, yeah, we'll let you see a little bit of this.
Right.
There's this hairy guy out there telling, I think in Littlefoot, I saw part of it. He was the Bigfoot, the lead role who's ever played Bigfoot, was coming back to his village of Bigfoots, telling the rest of them, it's not fiction. The hairless ones do exist at a lower elevation, and they live in thousands in these big buildings they make out of rock, and they do exist, the hairless ones. So and of course, the leader of their tribe is, if you want to get political, the leader of their tribe is going, there he goes again, talking about the hairless people. They don't exist. Figment of your imagination. We're all just it's just a figment. It's just a mythical legend you're telling. No bigger than legends.
Right.
And then so it's sort of like how the reverse of what we think.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're just crazy. Bigfoot doesn't exist. It's just a myth or a legend, and we're finding out mythos comes from fact.
Mm-hmm.
Myth is based on fact. So.
Even the panda bear was a cryptid at one point.
Yeah, it was. So was a mountain gorilla.
Yeah.
Of Central Africa. It was considered just a
myth.
In the 20s and 1910, it was considered just a story by a bunch of natives.
Yeah.
Now we got natives in North America telling us stories for hundreds of years, and we're still going, 500 years of stories about some hairy creature. They can't be telling the truth.
Right.
But it's too. The burden of the evidence is so extremely one-sided to prove the existence for that people can no longer make the statement nowadays that there is no video or photo footage of Bigfoot. We don't have enough. No, the internet is like chock full of it. There's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of what I call marginal stuff, and then there's a lot of fake stuff.
Right.
But I think there's more than enough video. That argument doesn't hold up. Maybe 1970s or 60s, you could say, there wasn't a lot of photos and videos of Bigfoot, but nowadays that's not true with everybody having a cell phone.
Right.
Everybody.
It's just, and I find this a lot with both cryptids, but Dogman being, I think, because of the shock factor, because it doesn't, Bigfoot kind of looks like a human, big, wide, but has more human features. But Dogman is like total shocker. Like they want to avoid ever telling anybody that they saw a Dogman, and I've gotten to that a lot, and because of just people. Oh no, I'm not talking about it. But it's what was that train of thought?
Yeah, we're at 2:10, 2:05, so we probably have.
Yeah.
We're going to be wrapping this up soon. We probably have about. We have about another 5 minutes, Rick. So you got any closing thoughts? Any words of wisdom you have to say to our listeners?
Well, I really waited there.
And don't forget, I can edit this out.
I know.
It'll just be a cutaway, and you'll be talking again.
But I'm trying to think what's.
I could stop and resume. Hold on.
I was going to say something. So, people kind of reject the Dogman. Are there photos out there? Yes. Are there? But even if I don't have a photo, can I prove to you that there's a Dogman? Absolutely. Let's go out in the field. And I think the community, the society has gotten to a point, and this has happened to me even at work, of an individual, Marine, ex-Marine, doesn't believe in Bigfoot, doesn't believe in cryptids. This has happened a lot, including with certain so-called experts. I've offered them to take them out in the field to show them, but they reject it. So society has got to the point, especially with photos.
They can't deal with the truth?
No.
Is it like that movie, The Officer, what is it called? Not The Officer and the Gentleman. It was Jack Nicholson saying, you can't handle the truth. Remember that saying?
Yes.
I apply that on a daily basis because I encounter people that are like, I really want to do this with you. And then I say, okay, let's go do this. And then it's like, I can't handle it now.
Right.
I can't handle it. I can't come with you. And Bigfoot is a big one of those. It's like, you're going to go research Bigfoot? Can I hang out with you? Can I watch you film it? Sure, come on along.
Right.
And then the night before they call and go, Grandma's sick.
Right.
Yeah, I got to watch Grandma. And after that happens enough times, you realize, no, people are not, they can't handle the brutal truth. It's like, he may prove that turn my world upside down. Do I want to give him the chance? I'm not going to give him the chance.
And then what happens with that is that a person can bring out an HD video and can bring out an HD video, a crisp, clear picture, but because they don't want the reality turned upside down, no evidence will ever be enough to convince those nonsense.
You're going to have professional skeptics because that's what they do. They indulge in just being, everything is, their whole idea of life is just to prove things are wrong or don't exist or are fake. They go on the premise that everything is false.
Right.
So that's their poor reality to live in.
Right.
Because you're going to, your simple things like your friend comes over to your house and goes, sorry, I'm a half hour late, I had to stop and get gas. A professional skeptic would say, I know you're lying, you didn't stop and get gas, you're covering it up, you probably just didn't even want to come over.
Right.
That's what a professional skeptic, they make a life on doubting. In other words, it's supposed to be the burden of proof is you have to prove it to yourself.
Right.
So then there would be no room for being a professional skeptic because you would go out and prove it, and if you didn't have enough burden to prove it, then you would prove it doesn't exist. But a skeptic approaches it totally opposite. They're all about, okay, heard about cryptid research regarding Dogman. I'm going to approach it that they don't exist from the beginning, from step one. And then now this guy has to convince me. In a court of law, that's not how it works. In a court of law, as Melva's told me, she says the evidence outweighs the burden of proof. Then you can't prove a negative. You can't prove the opposite.
Even with a Dogman.
Yes, even with a Dogman, the evidence is supporting it.
Yeah.
You know, you have
It's there, just look.
even with the Dogman, the evidence that you can find. You know, because you ain't no biologist, and Dave, you were a wildlife nuisance officer.
Yeah.
There's no way someone's gonna tell me that a track this big, a canine track this big, is going to be a bear when it only has 4
4 digits.
4 digits.
With the Duplo being
Right.
up higher.
Right.
Yeah,
And then some will say, well, that's a, because I've had some people say this, well, that's a mountain lion. Well, it has claws, but there's a difference between a cat and a dog print in the pad.
Yeah, there is.
Okay,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
a cat has 1 loop on top and 2 loops on the bottom. Dog only has a round loop on top. It doesn't
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
So point is, so you're gonna tell me that it's a cat paw when you can clearly see it's a dog paw, and then what in the world makes a paw print that big?
Right.
Uh,
So yeah.
Wolf, no.
no, there's unless the timber wolf weighs some 2,000
But
pounds.
people want to stay in that warm fuzzy zone where they can believe the easy stuff, but the difficult stuff they don't want to do the mental exercises to go out in the field to prove it.
Right.
Because they know that if they prove it, then they got to admit they're wrong. And people are we're so committed nowadays. Most people are committed to, at all costs, we have to be right, even if we are proven to be factually wrong. It's all about being right. It's not about honest integrity and finding the truth. It's all about just being right. The truth no longer matters. It's just,
No.
I'm right, you're wrong.
That's it.
And that's a sad part of
That's it.
And it's in every community, not just Bigfoot community.
It's everywhere.
all-
It's life in general.
It's life in general. It's in all factions of life.
Yep. And like I said, I've had ex-Marines at work, who went on a rampage about cryptids aren't real, what this and that, blah blah, a bunch of other things. And Dave, you've known me calling in Dogman,
Yes.
okay, and them coming in. I told him,
I've heard about it too.
you know, I told him, I will pay you $200 to go with me. Okay.
I've been there when you called them in myself and had a
And now-
severe response to that one call in
Right.
because we weren't prepared for the results of what happened.
Right,
But you were
unexpected.
calling them in.
Yep.
You know.
Today.
Right.
Today.
Yeah. Called them in.
Okay,
called
guys.
called in activity. I heard the footfalls. You heard the low.
It's like a-
what I call a low resonance vibration. Yeah, it was like, to me, I don't know what.
It was deep. It was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
low resonant.
Yeah.
And I felt
And
that.
it was
can
the
feel it.
same area that I had
Yeah.
been out there myself.
So again, you have that vocalization going on, which is that infrasound happening?
Yep,
Very
yep.
possibly.
Very possible.
Because once you get from 20 hertz to 0 hertz, you're all in the infrasound wave or
And it was
spectrum.
one of the things that, and I know you guys can testify to this, something that forever tells you, well, how do you know that sound or whatnot was a cryptid? Most sounds, if a cryptid does a noise towards you, you're going to feel it. Your body is going to
Yeah.
feel it. Okay? So there's no lion or tiger. Well, there's no actual lions and tigers in the United States. But mountain lions, there's no mountain lions, there's no wolves, there's no coyotes. There's going to make any vocalizations where your body feels it.
Feels it, yeah.
Okay, so when your body feels it, you know that it's not your common animal. Okay, you got a cryptid in front of you. And that's the thing what happens when we call and we do this.
Yeah,
other things.
tigers and lions all have this ability. They have this ability for infrasound.
Yeah.
Elephants do it. Turkeys do it. So they use it for different reasons. Tigers may use it to immobilize prey. They know for a fact that our larger other animals use it too for communication, like elephants.
Mhm.
So how do we know either they're talking to each other or they're emitting this vibrational frequency toward us to let us know that you're gonna
Okay,
feel
yeah.
not so good, so maybe you'll just leave the area.
Right.
Sort of what they did when you encountered Dogman and Dave
Mhm.
felt a little sick.
Right. The day we went down the trail.
Were they like trying to turn you
Yeah.
around and say, he's coming close, I'm gonna hit him, emit a little sound wave at him, and he's just gonna feel sort of funky. And people, what do they do when they get sick? They usually want to go back to
Yeah.
where they came from.
Yep.
They felt more threatened by me because I had the walking stick. Ricardo was closer to both of them at the time, but he didn't get the ultrasound hit on him.
I had nothing on me.
It was directed.
'Cause that was-
You weren't a threat.
Right.
I was more of a threat to them.
Yeah,
And
I
it
believe
was-
that. I think that's why when I bring my camera along with a monopod, I'll have activity until nightfall. And at nightfall, what happens? It gets dark. The monopod sort of is. I'm not holding it. I might have it in my tent, or it's just like staked out in an area we're camping, but now it's no longer in my hand. What do I do during the day when you're doing day research? You're carrying your monopod, tripod, or whatever with you.
Mm-hmm.
It looks just like you're carrying a gun.
Right.
You know, mine totally collapsed. Still looks like it's a sawed-off shotgun.
Right.
You know, and
It's a proven fact. When you go out in the field with guns, they are going to be more leery, more precautious, because somehow, somewhere, they know what a gun is. Whether they see people, hunting, they've been shot at, or whatnot.
well, I think they make the relationship already. If
Yeah.
they're doing gift exchanges and doing gifting, and they know what that gift does, they definitely know what a stick that explodes a fiery ball out of the end. They probably know exactly, and when it all is, like everything we do is military colored, olive drab or flat black, that's what all your weapons come in. It's either forest green, olive drab, or flat black. All my guns are that way. You know, when you blue a gun, you're making it look flat black. You know, when you do bluing, and I know, I've done bluing in the shop before. So yeah, that's a very interesting discussion. Is there anything else you want to close with, Ricky?
No, I mean, the only thing I like I said, and I said it before, is if you're a new eyewitness, old eyewitness, you want information that may help you understand what you went through, reach out. Okay? The Dogman research is not like how social media or some researchers are portraying it to be, where there's nobody out there. No, there are people out there doing actual research, just like they have people out there searching Bigfoots. So reach out to me, on the page, American Cryptid Research Team on Facebook. My email, it'll be on the comments or on the video. Reach out. The least thing you might get out of me is a little bit more understanding, a more calmer mind, to go out better. Sometimes you have them in your yard. I had them in my yard, and I know the feeling when going out into your yard, having your heart in your hands, because you don't know in what direction they might be coming to. So, I've been there, done that. I've been out in the field. We can get you help. So the biggest thing is reach out. There is help.
Well, thanks, Rick. It was a great interview. Would you be willing to come back for a future touch base on any new information,
Sure.
future explorations? Would
Absolutely.
you be willing to do another interview?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Well, guys, check you later. Bye-bye, and stay safe out there.